Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1936B, and today's date is August 6th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Define Game Theory. Are you ready for the Streisand effect? Now, before we get started, we've been talking about protecting your devices, protecting yourself from big tech. I mean, it's the year 2019, and if you're not using a VPN by now on your desktop, tablet, or mobile device while you browse the internet, then you're really exposing yourself to a lot of potential danger. Here, let me show you how easy this is. Click Connect. Once I'm connected, my IP address is now different than before. See? This month, Virtual Shield is offering a 4th of July celebration special. Sign up for free for 30-day trial to Virtual Shield VPN and see what the hype is all about. You have nothing to lose. Click the link below. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, let's talk about the deep state. The deep state, they have lost their blocks. Mueller was a dud. Impeachment is a dud. Many in the FBI and Department of Justice, and in many other offices, those people have been removed or they have resigned. The deep state has nothing left. All they can do is change the news cycle with events, and they try to keep the people distracted by continually calling Trump a racist and a white nationalist, etc. Now the Patriots are using game theory. Nothing is straightforward. Sometimes you scratch your head and you wonder what's happening. Just remember, there is a strategy behind the moves. And we're going to be discussing game theory a little later in this report. But first, let's head out to Baltimore because something wonderful is actually happening in Baltimore. A group of pro-Trump activists, they arrived in Baltimore on Monday to help remove massive piles of trash throughout the city, saying the cleanup is simply Americans helping Americans, and it is not politically motivated whatsoever. Scott Pressler tweeted out the following: "We're here in West Baltimore to pick up trash. This isn't a Trump rally nor an anti-Representative Cummings event. This is simply Americans helping Americans." And this is what we should be seeing. We should be seeing Americans helping other Americans. We should be united, not divided. Remember, we're all in this country together. And just because you're Republican or Democrat or different race or different color, it makes no difference. We all need to stick together and we all need to help each other. Because if we all come together as one, nothing can beat the people. This is why the deep state, this is why they don't want this. This is why Trump's message is to unite. They don't want this. They want the people divided. This is how they stay strong, because they know once the people come together, it's the end for them. Now, something very interesting. It looks like there was a lawsuit filed against the FBI and Justice Department, and this is by Peter Strzok. And he's arguing that his firing was politically motivated and in violation of 2 constitutional amendments. And they argue that he was fired for using his protected political speech under the First Amendment, and the FBI also deprived him of his due process under Fifth Amendment by denying him the right to appeal the decision. So they're bringing this lawsuit up, and they are now suing the Department of Justice and the FBI. Now, this is coming out of the conservative treehouse. This is a political stunt 100%. Think about why Peter Strzok all of a sudden decided to sue. Well, let's look at his lawyers. This is Goldman, Spader, Zuckerman, Salzman, and Julia T. Quinn from Heller, Huron, Chertoff, and Salzman. And it would seem that Peter Strzok has been advised by his lawfare allies to get ahead of any potential legal risk associated with his involvement in the Trump campaign 2016 spying and surveillance operation by filing a legal action purposely to claim retaliation in advance of any consequences from the IG report on FISA abuse. This lawsuit is frivolous on its face. However, it can be purposely as a political tool to frame a narrative against action by the Department of Justice Inspector General or any criminal referrals therein. This was done on purpose because he understands what is coming. And by filing this suit, he's trying to protect himself, saying, oh, they're coming after me because I filed this suit. Oh, they're bringing this up because I filed this suit. This is why he did this, because they know what's about to drop. They know that all this information is going to be coming out. Now, it's very interesting that Strzok just filed this lawsuit because Judicial Watch obtained records of 14 referrals of FBI employees for leaking sensitive or classified information. Now, they received this information, and the records show that penalties for unauthorized disclosure of sensitive and or classified information ranged from no action due to administrative closure to, as in the case of McCabe, dismissal. Other FBI employees' offenses reported in the documents list several cases in which the final action was less severe than OPR's proposal. And let me just read through a couple of these. An unidentified employee was fired. The case was closed in July 2016. An unidentified employee was given a 1-day suspension without pay. The case was closed in April 2016. The following year, an unidentified employee received a 5-day suspension without pay, and the case was closed administratively in April of 2017. An unidentified employee was fired. The case was closed in May 2018. An unidentified employee was recommended for dismissal but received a 45-day suspension. The case was closed in October 2017. And it goes on and on and on like this, where most of them, nothing really happened. And this was leaking classified information. Tom Fitton said the following: "No wonder the FBI was leaking so profusely. Collectively, these documents show lenient treatment for evident criminal activity. Only 3 of the 14 employees found to have made an unauthorized disclosure were dismissed from the FBI." And you can see why no one had a problem with leaking information, because they knew nothing was going to come out of it. Now, this is very interesting. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has ordered a state criminal probe into the actions of the Palm Beach sheriff and the former Palm Beach state attorney's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein underage sex trafficking case. Now, the reason DeSantis decided to do this was because of the Palm Beach sheriff Rick Bradshaw, and he has come under increasing scrutiny for his decision in 2008 to give Epstein, a politically connected multimillionaire, unusually lenient work release privileges, even though he was a convicted sex offender who had been accused of molesting dozens of underage girls. And while he had this lenient work privilege or release privilege, it seems like he had sex with underage girls during this period of time. So now they're looking into this. So that is very interesting. Now, as we know, the government right now is looking at Google, YouTube, and other social media networks, and they're looking for antitrust violations. They're looking at the Sherman Act, and they're investigating these companies. We know from Q, a lot of the algorithms, they are used to present information they want presented, and other information is hidden. We've all seen it. Nobody is fooled by it anymore. It's being brought out into the open. And Trump, he tweeted out something very interesting. He said, "Sundar Pichai of Google was in the Oval Office working very hard to explain how much he liked me, what a great job the administration is doing, that Google was not involved with China's military, and that they didn't help crooked Hillary over me in the 2016 election, and that they are not planning to illegally subvert the 2020 election, despite all that has been said to the contrary. It all sounded good until I watched Kevin Cernecki, a Google engineer, say terrible things about what they did in 2016, and that they want to make sure that Trump loses in 2020. Lou Dobbs stated that this is a fraud on the American people. Peter Schweizer stated that with certainty that they suppressed negative stories on Hillary Clinton and boosted negative stories on Donald Trump. All very illegal. We are watching Google very closely. Listen to what this individual had to say about what Google does.
Google employee telling Fox Today Google executives want to make sure the president loses in 2020. Listen to this.
When President Trump won in 2016, Google executives went up on stage right away and cried, literally tears streaming down their faces over the fact that President Trump won. They vowed that it would never happen again, and they want to use all of the power and all the resources that they have to control the flow of information to the public and make sure that Trump loses in 2020.
Well, he went on to say that Google and YouTube have been censoring political advertisements showing biased search results in order to influence the election.
Now, as you can see, it's not the Russians that we have to worry about with messing with our elections. It has to do with social media, the people inside of America. And believe me, they're just not doing this on their own. They're getting instructions to do this. And this goes way up the chain here. So we shouldn't be looking outside. We should be looking inside. And this is exactly what Trump and the administration are doing right now. Now, let's talk about what is happening in El Paso and Ohio. Trump right now, he plans to visit the communities of El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio. He already tweeted out letting everyone know that he's going down there to visit both up and down to visit both of these places. And he's going there not as a political visit. He's going there as the president to see how people are doing, to talk to the first responders, to talk to people on the street, and to reassure them that he's doing everything in his power to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Now, we know that Trump gave a speech after the event, and Trump called for unity. He wanted the people of America to come together over this horrific event, saying that we need to come together as a nation. We cannot be divided. Now, the New York Times, they were putting out their Tuesday edition, and their headline said, "Trump urges unity versus racism." Now, that was the headline. And then we had certain individuals complain because they found out what the headline was, and they said, "You can't put that out." Absolutely not. You need to change it. So the New York Times said, okay, we'll change it. And they changed it to assailing hate, but not guns. So the Democrats felt the original headline about the president and his speech on what happened in El Paso and Dayton was too fair to Trump. So the New York Times listened and they changed the headline. We have Beto O'Rourke coming out and saying, unbelievable. Tomorrow's New York Times print edition. Not sure Trump urges unity versus racism is how I would have framed this story. And then we had Cory Booker came out and said, lives literally depend on you doing better, New York Times. Please do. And there were many, many other people that continually tweeted out saying, this is unacceptable. Now, what does the deep state fear? What do these people fear with a country coming together and being as one? Because what they fear is they fear if this actually happens and the people unite, people will figure out who the real enemy is. They will awaken to what is really going on. If you keep a country divided and you put people against each other, they're too busy tweeting and putting out videos and everything else complaining about the other side. They're too busy feeling hate instead of feeling love, instead of working together. And when you have people busy like this, they don't see anything else. If you have people getting along, united as one, they can see everything clearly. You can see, oh, there's my neighbor. Thank you, friend. Wait a minute. Who are those people over there? Wait a minute. Why are they doing this? This is what the deep state fears the most. They don't want this to happen. And this is why the headlines were changed. This is why they continually attack Trump. Now, what's very interesting is the White House counselor Kellyanne Conway. She fired back saying Trump is trying to bring the country together and heal a nation. She said there is a huge difference between running your mouth and running for president, and being the president and trying to bring together a nation. She went on to say, they all blamed him, and I want to name and shame them now. They want to be president. He is the president, and he's trying to bring the country together and have bipartisan, bicameral steps. She also pointed out that Warren immediately began raising money for Senate Democratic candidates in an email appeal talking about mass shootings. She said, this is a disgrace, and if no one else is going to talk about it, I'm going to talk about it. And she's absolutely right. The deep state players, they took this opportunity to attack Trump. They believe the ball is in their court now. They believe they're in control. Comey tweeted out the following. Reading words off a teleprompter is a good start. Now tell your next rally audience that racism and white supremacy are evil and you don't want the support of anyone who disagrees. We had Bill and Hillary Clinton out there. Hillary Clinton tweeted out the following. People suffer from mental illness in every other country on earth. People play video games in virtually every other country on earth. The difference is the guns. Well, the guns don't do anything unless a person picks it up. And if a person is mentally ill and they're receiving certain medication, and maybe there are certain people controlling this individual, yes, that is a problem. We had Bill Clinton tweet out, how many more people have to die before we reinstate the assault weapons ban and the limit on high-capacity magazines and pass universal background checks? After they passed in 1994, there was a big drop in mass shooting deaths. When the ban expired, they rose again. We must act now. Now, the ban lasted from 1994 to 2004, and although crime fell during that time, a detailed study found no proof the decline was due to the ban. Even the New York Times admitted that the law that barred the sale of assault weapons from 1994 to 2004 made little difference. Additionally, hard numbers showed the percentage of assault weapons recovered by police during the ban only rose from 1% to 2%. On top of all this, the Times points out that assault weapons are not the gun of choice for criminals anyway, and never have been. In 2012, only 322 people were murdered with any kind of rifle. FBI data shows on January 15, 2013, deaths in which an assault rifle were involved constituted less than 0.012% of the overall deaths in America in 2011. The Federalist Sean Davis explained all of this in 2016. The 1994 assault weapons law banned semi-automatic rifles only if they had two of the following 5 features in addition to a detachable magazine: a collapsible stock, a pistol grip, a bayonet mount, a flash suppressor, or a grenade launcher. That's it. Not one of those cosmetic features has anything whatsoever to do with how or what a gun fires. Note that under the 1994 law, the mere existence of a bayonet lug, not even the bayonet itself, somehow turned a garden variety rifle into a bloodthirsty killing machine. Guns with fixed stocks, very safe, but guns where a stock has more than one position, obviously, they're murder factories. A rifle with both a bayonet lug and a collapsible stock, perish the thought. A collapsible stock does not make a rifle more deadly, nor does a pistol grip, nor does a bayonet mount, nor does a flash suppressor. So, once again, it's absolutely meaningless. Now, Obama decided to jump in the mix, and he tweeted out the following: until all of us stand up and insist on holding public officials accountable for changing our gun laws, these tragedies will keep happening. Now, Trump decided to respond. Did George Bush ever condemn President Obama after Sandy Hook? President Obama had 32 mass shootings during his reign. Not many people said Obama is out of control. Mass shootings were happening before the president even thought about running for president. And he's absolutely right. And think about it. All these individuals all of a sudden came out of the woodwork and they're attacking Trump. They do believe they are in control. Let's talk about what's really happening here. Let's talk about game theory. Well, let's first define it. Game theory, a mathematical method of decision-making in which a competitive situation is analyzed to determine the optimal course of action for an interested party, often used in political, economic, and military planning. This is Merriam-Webster's definition. The analysis of a situation involving conflicting interest, as in business or military strategy, in terms of gains and losses among opposing players. Now, let's take a look at what was happening before the event. Trump was calling out the squad. This was AOC, Tlaib, Omar, and the rest. He brought them to the front. They were the picture of the Democratic Party. Trump also called out Cummings, called out Baltimore, said it was rat-infested, and was wondering where all the funds were going in Baltimore. He also called out Pelosi and San Francisco. So all eyes were on the squad, all eyes were on Cummings, all eyes were on Baltimore, San Francisco, Pelosi. And then the news on Epstein broke. Now, Epstein, he has a lot of information on a lot of people. And a lot of this information was continually coming out. As soon as this story broke, they started to change things. They started to remove Clinton and everything else and replace it with Trump. Remove Clinton's pictures, replace it with Trump. And then we had the DNC lawsuits. They were dismissed, including WikiLeaks showing that there was no Russian collusion. Then we had Mueller testify, and his testimony was a complete flop. All of this not in favor of the Dems or the deep state. Remember, they were on the defensive now. Trump and the Patriots were on the offensive. The mainstream media was on the defensive. And they were battling all of this. All eyes were on all of this, and Trump continued with the pressure. And more stories were coming out. They also knew that Q and the Patriots were getting ready to drop some very damaging evidence that had to do with treason, spying, crimes, etc. Actually, Joe D. said that the information on George Papadopoulos also tweeted out that, yes, this information is going to come to light. If we go back to post 3567, if you remember, this was July 30th. There was a Twitter link, George Papadopoulos, saying that this information is going to be coming out very soon. And it says, how do you get ahead of a story? Coincidence? And they knew that something was coming. And remember, the Dems, the deep state, the mainstream media, they're all on the defensive right now. Q, the Patriots, knew that the deep state, that they've been saving ammunition to use at a certain point. Q warned us. With all the news breaking, the deep state went ahead and used their ammunition to change the news cycle. This was their move. Ammunition was used. News cycle changed. Squad, that story, wiped clean from the mainstream media. Epstein, we don't have to talk about that anymore. Dems and their disastrous debate, we'll just wipe that clean too. Kamala Harris, her arrest records being deleted, that disappears. Mueller, that disappears. Cummings, Baltimore, court ruling, all gone. Everything that was out there has been taken over by the new news cycle. This was done on purpose. Think about this. The Dems, they had no chance of going up against Trump in 2020. They had no talking points. If you listen to the debates, it was awful. Trump controls the economic narrative. Trump rallies are huge. People wait online to get in to see him. You ever see some of the other candidates? They can barely pack a small little classroom. Now, Dems, they're now making a push to stop Trump from holding rallies and pushing other tactics. Cory Booker is out there, and he's demanding Trump cancel all campaign rallies. that inspire white nationalist attacks. The presidential campaign of Senator Cory Booker is demanding that the president cancel a planned rally in Manchester next week and all future rallies nationwide, stating that his rallies are a breeding ground for racism and bigotry that inspire white nationalist attacks. This is how desperate they are. They want him to cancel his rallies because they're too big. There's too many people that want to see him. Now, what's very interesting is Joaquin Castro did something unbelievable. Democratic Texas Representative Joaquin Castro tweeted the names and employers of 44 San Antonio residents who donated the federal maximum to Trump's re-election campaign. Now, this is absolutely disgusting. Giving out private names and letting people know who you are. Trump's campaign communication director, Tim Murtaugh, is demanding Castro delete the post. I mean, isn't this very similar to doxing? It seems like it is. But again, this could lead to violence. Think about it. So let's continue. Since the event, since everything, we know that the news cycle has changed. Dems have created a new talking point: white nationalists and gun control. So now they have talking points, and they're blaming everything on Trump. So Trump comes out and says, listen, I'm going to put out a 5-point plan. He wants Congress to act on gun control. We know that the House already passed 2 bills a while back. And will these bills be passed in the Senate? Most likely not, because you know the Senate is not going to like certain things within the bills, and they're not going to go for it. I think Trump is betting that Congress will never agree on anything. Look at healthcare. Both sides will take a position and nothing will move forward. This is a gamble, but optics are good for Trump. Why? Because if nothing passes, he blames it on Congress. Yes, I know he put Lindsey Graham in charge. Yes, I know McConnell is looking at this. But let's see how this all plays out. Now, the Patriots set the trap. How and why? The Patriots needed to put certain things into motion. The deep state was forced to use their ammunition. Q and the Patriots knew moving forward there was a strong possibility that they would take down 8chan and other social media sites to block the information. Now, they tried to take down 8chan once before, and this is why they knew that if something happened, they would go after 8chan. Now, a lot of people look at this and say, oh my God, it's a terrible thing, 8chan is down. Is it? Why did Q and the Patriots want the deep state to make their move on 8chan now? They wanted 8chan all over the news. Think about it. Everyone's talking about 8chan. Everyone is hearing about 8chan. They wanted 8chan to be completely independent. Once independent, all of these outside companies will no longer control 8chan. The site will be safe and hardened against attacks. The deep state will no longer have leverage. Think about it. The deep state, they censored 8chan, they brought it down, and when it comes back up, which it is, they're already preparing to bring it up, and it's slowly coming up. When it comes back up fully, guess what happens? I do believe they call this the Streisand effect. Now, a lot of people are saying, what is the Streisand effect? The Streisand effect is a phenomenon whereby an attempt to hide, remove, or censor a piece of information has the unintended consequences of publicizing the information more widely, usually facilitated by the internet. It is an example of psychological reactance, wherein once people are aware that some information is being kept from them, their motivation to access and spread it is increased. It is named after Barbra Streisand, whose 2003 attempt to suppress photographs of her residence in Malibu, California, inadvertently drew further public attention to it. So, as you can see, this is going to benefit 8chan, and it's going to publicize 8chan. More people are going to be interested in it. Now, Patriots needed the D's, the deep state, to back the death penalty. Remember when Barr came out and said, okay, reinstituting the death penalty, and we had all these tweets saying this is disgusting? Well, Trump came out and said, listen, all these people that commit mass shootings, murders, we should have the death penalty. They should not wait, and we should put this into effect. Now, is anyone going to argue with him right now? What did he just do? He just established leverage over the death penalty. Brilliant move. Now, the Patriots needed the FBI to designate domestic terrorists. Remember, before, there was no designation. So the FBI Agents Association on Tuesday demanded that members of Congress codify domestic terrorism as a federal crime, warning it poses a threat to the American people and our democracy. Acts of violence intended to intimidate civilian populations or to influence or affect government policy should be prosecuted as domestic terrorism regardless of the ideology behind them. And this came from the FBI AA President Brian O'Hare, and he said this in a statement. The association continues to urge Congress to make domestic terrorism a federal crime. Now, think about what's happening here. They're going to go after those people who are responsible for this. And I'm not just talking about those people that committed the act. I'm talking about anyone that is associated with this. Think about what they said here. Acts of violence intended to intimidate civilian populations or to influence or affect government policy should be prosecuted as domestic terrorism. Think about that for a second. So, once the events occur, Trump assigns Barr and Wray to investigate and give them whatever they need. John Bash, the U.S. Attorney in Texas, is leading the investigation. He is a Trump nominee, and he worked for Scalia and Kavanaugh. So far, can you see what's happening here? They've set up everything the way they wanted. Yes, the deep state, the Dems, they think they're in control. Yes, they think they have the upper hand. But do they really? Think about it for a second. Now, the owner of 8chan, he created a video and he put it up on YouTube. And he says, listen, I have some information that the manifesto that was uploaded to 8chan did not come from that individual who committed the crime. Take a listen to what he said.
There are about 1 million users of 8chan. 8chan is an empty piece of paper for writing on. It is disturbing to me that it can be so easily shut down. Over the weekend, the domain name service for 8chan was abruptly terminated by the provider Cloudflare. Some people may applaud that decision. It was made by one of their founders. According to his Twitter profile, he is a recovering lawyer. They are a private company and, of course, have a right to stop doing business with me. Likely this is because of their intended and soon-to-happen IPO. Calling 8ch.net lawless by design, he decided to terminate us. This is, of course, an untrue statement. He did terminate us, though. So it becomes time to find a new home. Think of 8chan as a large community of 1 million people that are now looking for a home. First of all, the El Paso shooter posted on Instagram, not 8chan. Later, someone uploaded a manifesto. However, that manifesto was not uploaded by the Walmart shooter. I don't know if he wrote it or not, but it was not uploaded by the murderer. That is clear. And law enforcement was made aware of this before most people had even heard the horrific news. The spirit and letter of the law have always been faithfully fulfilled and my company has always made certain of that. It is unfortunate that this place of free speech has temporarily been removed. We are working to restore service. Thank you to the incredible people and companies that are helping with this task.
So if that is the case, then there must be more than one individual, because who uploaded it then? He gave the information to the authorities. I wonder if the Patriots have that information. Let's go back to post 3310. Q back in March of 2019 said, threat to controlled narrative. Other than POTUS, can you name a group more attacked than Q by the fake news media? Multiple tactics deployed, including framing for crimes, think bridge, mob boss, etc. Desperation, that's all in caps. Reconcile using logic, think for yourself. Dividers will fail. Let's move to post 3433. Fake news attacks only validate the message. Old guard threatened. Think size and scope of continual mainstream media attacks. Post 3570. This was August 1st, 2019. C before D, this is Coats before D class. The month of August is traditionally very hot. You have more than you know. This is a hot month. Think about what the Patriots have done. This is game theory. They needed all of this in place to move forward. And guess what? They got what they wanted. And actually, by Trump giving this speech showing that he wants to unite the country, we should come together as one, and the Dems and the deep state saying, no, we shouldn't. I mean, think about that for a second. Post 3498. Nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. And I do believe nothing will stop what is coming. This is the plan. The plan does not go in a straight line. There are moves and counter moves. Sometimes things have to happen in a certain way to get what you want and to expose certain individuals. And you can see how the Patriots play this game. It's a military operation. They look at different scenarios. They look at, okay, if we do this, what will happen? If we do this, what will they do? And they have contingency plans to make sure that the outcome benefits the Patriots. That's what we see happening right now. And guess what? It's all working. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.